Welcome to Magenta Fashion Tutorials. Today we shall be learning how to make this ruffled bubu dress. So here I have my fabric folded into four. I have the front unfold and the back unfold. We are cutting the front and back together. And here I have my starting line marked half an inch up. So the first thing I'll do is to mark my shoulder measurement and then the neck width, which is 3 inches, with a neck depth of 3 inches. For now I'll still alter the neckline before we cut out. So the front and back we have the same neckline. Okay, so I'm going to redraw this neckline because the chalk is not visible enough. The sleeve length I am working with is 28 inches. So to get your sleeve length, all you have to do is place your tip at your center back, and then you measure to where you want the sleeve to stop. Okay, so for this very client of mine, it is 28 inches. All right, so now I've redrawn the neckline so it's visible, and then I'll also extend that sleeve length all the way to the hip line. Okay, so on the shoulder line or starting line, I will come down by 1 inch for shoulder slope. Now this is an Ankara fabric, okay, and you know Ankara comes as length 45. So I had to join this fabric on the hem. You are going to see it around the hem, around the length, so you still see it. Okay, so if you're working with a fabric that has double length, maybe like plain fabrics like crepe, you don't need to have joining around the shoulder. So here I'm marking the shoulder to hip line. I'm not going to mark a lot of chalk on this because this is an Ankara. So on the hip line, I will mark the hip divided by 4 plus, maybe 4 inches, 3 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches. It depends on how free you want it to be. And I'm going to extend it to the hemline. Okay. So please note that if you don't want this to be like very free, let's say you are using your hip divided by 4 plus 2 inches, please remember to add zipper allowance at the back. You can see the joining I have around the hemline. Okay, and then I'll connect the hip measurement, the markings I did there, all the way to the hip. Now on the hip line, I'm going to connect this, make an arc there because we're not going to cut it straight like this. So we are going to create an arc. I came down by 5 inches to create my arc there because we don't need a sharp edge. Now this part I made a correction and I'll still be showing us on camera while recording because it's not fair on me to make corrections without showing us the corrections I made. Okay, so I'm going to make some changes around this part, but when I get to that stage you'll see it. So now regarding what I said about sharing some experiences I've had in fashion designing over the years, so I'll be making separate videos for that. Now I'm cutting out. I left half-inch seam allowance, but there is no need for it. If you're cutting yours, just cut on the chalk line. Okay, so like I said, I'll be making separate videos for sharing my experiences. We'll be talking about pricing, we're talking about carving a niche, we'll be talking about renting a shop versus working from home, how to build a customer base, social media and all of that. So I'll be making contents on that. So here I'm trying to get my neck width. So for, remember I used 3 inches initially, I'm going to use 2 inches, making a total of 5 inches. Okay, this is like a boot neckline or something like that. And then I'll come down by 3.5 inch for the neck depth. Like I said, the front and back will be the same neckline. Okay, and then I'm going to connect it. Now originally I wanted to use 4.5 inch for the neck width, so it won't be too wide, but I ended up using 5 inches for the neck width. But I will advise us that if you're making yours, make use of 4.5 inch, then half-inch for seam allowance. By the time you sew it up, you'll have like 5 inches width instead of having 5.5 inch width. I hope this explanation is clear enough. Feel free to ask questions anyway. So right here, I'll be cutting out the neckline, front and back cut out together. I ended up using 5 inches neck width, and then I'll leave extra seam allowance around the shoulder for the joining. So that's the essence of coming down by half an inch around the shoulder, or you can even do 1 inch. Okay, so after cutting this out, please, if you've watched this video to this point, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, click on your notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload a new video. Okay, and don't forget to leave your feedbacks on the comment section. All right, here I have opened it up After cutting out the neckline, the shoulders, you can see the front and back, right sides facing each other and wrong side facing me. So I'm going to join the shoulders, and then you can either use your bias tape to pipe the neckline, or you cut out facing for the neckline. It depends on your preference. So for me, I will be using facing to pipe the neckline. Now this is where I made changes on the hip line, because I realized that the curve was just way too low. So on the hip line, I went up by 5 inches. You can also do 6 inches or 7 inches. Okay, but I did 5 inches, and then I'm going to redraw that arc there because it was way too low after joining the shoulder. So I made these corrections on camera just so you see the actual thing happening. Okay, instead of making the corrections off camera and without us not knowing, I decided to do it on camera. Yeah, we deserve to see it too, any errors or corrections that have been made. So, and I'll redraw my arc. Sorry, I'll redraw the arc. After redrawing the arc, I will cut out. So please, there, creatives, the first advice I would give us is starting with what you have. Okay, I know with the pressures that comes from social media, we all want to grow and all of that, but please, there are days of humble beginning. I have my days of humble beginnings too, which I'll be sharing with us in our pep talks, or maybe I don't know, pep talks or podcasts or whatever I would call it. But please, there are days of humble beginning, and I believe that with God and grace, we'll all get there. All right. So here the shoulder has already been joined for both front and back, and this is the neckline. I have also hemmed the neckline with my bias tip, sorry, with my facing. Okay, weave it and use your hemming gun to iron it down so it lays very flat. I also went ahead and hemmed the sleeve opening, as you can see. So the next thing we are going to do is to measure around the neckline so that we can get the width of the neckline for our ruffles. So when you measure it round, all you have to do is to multiply it by 3 4, depending on how full you want it to be. So for me, I used organdy, and the organdy I used is 4 years. So I exhausted the 4 years for the ruffles around the neckline and for the sleeve too. Okay, so now the organdy I am using is 4 years, like I said. So what you are going to do on the sleeve part is to measure the length you have there, okay, from one end to the other end, and then you multiply it by 3, 2.5, or 4 inches, depending on how full you want it to be, just the same as the neckline. Okay, but I'll be exhausting the 4 yards that I have in terms of length, okay, not in width. So here I have cut out my ruffles, and the width of the ruffles I'll be using is 18 inches. So then when I fold it into two, it will become 9 inches, and then I'll use half inch for my seam allowance, and I'll end up having about 8 inches left in width, in the wideness. Okay, so I've already sewn my ruffles, as you can see here. So please, you can ask questions if you don't understand anything around here. So I've sewn the ruffles and turned it inside out. The wideness is 18 inches. On fold it is 9 inches. By the time I sew with half inch to join the ruffles, I ended up having 8 inches left as the width. By the time I create my ruffles in the middle, okay, I'm going to have 4 inches um length of ruffles, okay, because the pleating or the gathers is going to pass at the middle of the 8 inches. So you can either gather it with your needle and thread, or you pleat as you sew. So whichever one that is convenient for you, kindly make use of it. So what I'm going to do for myself is to pleat as I sew, or for the sleeve part. Okay, so while I am sewing, I'll pleat the whole 4 yards I have, because remember I told us it's 4 yards with a wideness of 8 inches. After sewing, it's 8 inches, so I'll just take the middle of the ruffle, and then I'll pleat at that middle and sew on it. All right, then on the neckline, what I did on the neckline was to gather it first, because oh my god, this neckline, it's not like it's tough sewing it though, but it's nice to gather it. So what you do on the neckline is, please close the ends of the ruffles. Okay, so from on the neckline, you come down by maybe 1 inch or 1.5 inch. So you gather and sew, or you form your pleats while sewing. But I will advise you to gather it first, so that you gather it exactly to the length of the round neck measurement. Okay, so right here I am done sewing it, and this is what it looks like. It looks very beautiful, actually, very very nice. And this is for the sleeves. Okay, the ruffle looks full and it's okay. So I also encourage us to use 4 years. All right, except maybe you don't want it full as I have it here, then you can go ahead and make use of maybe 3 years. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to join the sides, turn it right wrong size facing you, while the right side is facing each other, and then I will sew it down by half an inch. And right here I am done sewing. So now we need to close the sleeve, create our sleeve opening, and then sew top stitch the remaining parts, because remember the wideness of this sleeve is too big, but that is the style. So I'm going to come down from the shoulder by 9 inches, and then I'll follow the hip line just like this and sew all the way to where the 9 inches stopped. I'll repeat the same thing for the other side too. Okay, so so that our body will not be showing. All right, the only part that is going to be open around this here that I'm showing us now is just the sleeve opening. Here is the final look after sewing. Sorry, I was already on a rush because to deliver this dress for my client, so I didn't make a proper video of the finished look or the final stage. But this is what it looks like. It's actually beautiful, more beautiful on camera. Oh, sorry, in reality than this. And here is the sleeve part. So the only part that is open here is where our hand will come out. Okay, and then the sides are closed, and this is what we have. This dress looks actually beautiful, and my client loves it. Thank you for watching. See you in my next one. Bye.